Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. As we are able, shall we stand and begin with our singing of our opening hymn, Morning Has Come, number 1000.
Good morning and welcome to First Unitarian Portland. Whether you are here in our sanctuary or our virtual sanctuary for the first time, we are a multi-generational community where all of us are invited to grow in spirit and to join with others to grow in our capacity to build the beloved community. I have a few important announcements to share with all of you. A special welcome if you are here for one of your first visits. If it is your first visit, then I invite you to join Jen Thomas, our Membership Engagement Coordinator, for a brief welcome and check-in immediately following the service right here in the North Gallery of the sanctuary, and she can answer some initial questions, let you know about upcoming opportunities, and help you navigate to coffee hour in Fuller Hall following the service. 2, I want to share an update about our music ministry transition team. You all received, I think on July 11th, information about the music ministry team and its full scope, and you can read that letter. There's copies outside on the welcome table. We are already working on the first 2 tasks. First, the search for an interim or acting music director, including the job posting, job description, and hiring process. And 2, assessing our current capacity for people who are interested in singing and ringing and participating in our music program in the year ahead. So here is the ask. The job description is posted on our website. If you scroll to the bottom, you can click jobs, find it there, and please share it with people who might be interested in the position. And 2, if you're interested in singing or ringing next year, please respond to that invitation that was just sent to you. And you can reach the music ministry transition team at musictransition@firstunitarianportland.org. And now another announcement of gratitude. As we shared in front steps, Nikki Beasley, our acting communications and social media coordinator, is leaving this summer, and her last day is Friday. This is a time for all of us to say goodbye, to express our gratitude for her years of service. Nikki held several positions during her 6 years here, and she's made a difference in terms of the support of our social justice ministries and in our outreach and more. Please do take the time to click the link in front steps and add your gratitude, to let Nikki know that she'll be missed, and to share your positive wishes for her next steps. Finally, we are delighted, and some of you have already met them, to welcome Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolfe, our new UUA regional lead, and Reverend Sarah Gibb Millspaugh from the Pacific Western Region congregational staff. Yes. We are blessed to have them. They both have a breadth of experience and a focus in helping congregations to transform conflict and navigate transitions. They will be leading a workshop following the service, From Reactivity to Responsiveness, from 12 to 2. I strongly encourage you to attend if you are able. They met with the staff, the board, the music transition team, and listening circle facilitators this week, and the time with them has been deeply insightful. We invite everyone into the work, challenging and difficult, but ultimately hopeful, of healing and holding together as a faith community grounded in love. We believe and trust that we will learn what we learn now will ultimately lead to a stronger foundation for all our shared ministries to be able to thrive. Once again, welcome everyone. Please turn to your neighbor and greet them warmly. If you're joining us from home, I invite you at this time to light a candle or a chalice along with us. And Reverend Sunshine will be lighting our chalice. We are Unitarian Universalists. We light this chalice in faith, in hope, and in love.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolfe. I am a short, fat, white-passing, indigenous, multiracial human with short brown hair and a mask with salt and pepper that is growing more salt every day, and wire-rimmed glasses. I'm wearing a rainbow stole and a blue shirt. Our call to worship this morning is from Sarah Stewart, called To Remember Our Promises. Bring who you are as you enter church this morning. Bring your best self and your struggling self. Bring your mistakes and your triumphs. Bring your shortcomings and your recommitment to good. Bring yourself here and open your heart to beauty, to truth, to the door that is open to the presence of God. Here in this church, we are trying to move together on the peaceable way, trying to hammer out division and hatred and all that separates one from another. We try, and we fall short. But held in love, we try again. We come together this morning as a church to bow our heads in prayer, to raise our voices in song, to remember our promises and vow to live by them once again.
Let us join together in song.
may be seated. I am Reverend Sarah Gibb Millspaugh. I'm a white woman, middle-aged, with dark hair with some gray in it that's curly and down to my shoulders, and dark brown glasses over my brown eyes. It's good to be with you. In the summer of 2020, remember that time? A friend and I met up on the beach for a long walk. I was desperate to get out of the house. The beaches were finally open again. About halfway through the walk, I took off my sandals to wade in the water, and it felt lovely for about a minute. Then, ow! There was a sudden burning feeling in my big toe, and I jumped. I looked down where my foot had been, and there was a little body of a bee lying there in the sand. Oof. I had been stung by a bee right on the tip of my right big toe. No lifeguard station was in sight with bee sting treatment, so I kept walking. Quite a long way, in fact. I was pretty far from my car. And I leaned toward the outside of my foot as I stepped to keep the pressure off of my throbbing big toe. By the time I got back to the car, the opposite side, the pinky toe side of my foot, was in pain. The toe and the arch and the heel and the ankle had actually all begun to hurt. And I even had some pain shooting up to my knee. I was confused. The bee had stung me on the left side of my foot, but the right side of my foot hurt like the dickens. So at home, I put my feet up, and then I saw a red bump forming at the base of my pinky toe. Remember, it was the big toe that the bee stung, and that big toe wasn't even really hurting anymore. I got up after a time of elevating my foot, and it hurt to put my foot down on the floor, so I started walking around the house with a limp. And then over the next few days, the limp persisted, and the whole system of my legs, my knees, my hips, everything was getting off kilter. I was even getting increased neck and shoulder pain. A week later, the bee was gone, the swelling was gone, you couldn't even see the site of the sting anymore, but I was in pain all over. My body that summer became a metaphor for how a whole person or a whole congregation can act when something injures us, when it injures us spiritually, relationally, or emotionally. We react, and our attempts to address that pain by not talking about it, or by lashing out with harsh judgments, or by cutting off relationships, that actually can create conditions for more pain. We try to address the pain by getting our defenses up, by escalating our conflicts, by going after those who we think caused the pain. But those defenses end up inflicting pain on other people, who in turn inflict more pain on us. So the pain keeps going around the congregation or the family or the group, just like it went around my body. Or we can try to address the pain by escaping from it, by shutting down or just leaving. But in doing that, we cut off our connections. Resentments build. We end up feeling lonely and angry and unhealed. We try to avoid the pain, but we actually make some more. There's so much pain in the air right now. It's causing new trauma. It's bringing up old trauma. Events in Israel and Palestine have become so commonplace to hear about horrors. They break our hearts and make us feel furious each day. Overtly white supremacist, patriarchal, authoritarian politicians and their Project 2025 are out there striking fear in us. We know that we cannot let them win. We're angry and afraid. Our hearts hurt. And our traumas come up, especially if we're in a target group. And this 150-plus-year-old congregation has its own legacy of trauma alongside its history of greatness. Painful conflicts, power struggles, and outright fights mark its history. You, as the First Unitarian Church, have experienced too many I win, you lose sorts of battles for this not to be your own pattern when you are in pain. Experts in trauma and living systems have shown us how old trauma gets carried down in our ways of being, our ways of feeling. It does this in families, it does this in groups. It's passed through the generations in our very nervous systems. And here at this extraordinarily divisive time in our country, in a congregation with a pattern of periodic battles, it's so easy to get into a mode of hyper-defense, to lash out, to shut down, to run away. And even if we are instinctively trying to prevent more pain, we can cause more pain for ourselves and for others. Resmaa Menakem, the author of My Grandmother's Hands, writes, "Trauma can cause us to react to present events in ways that seem wildly inappropriate, overly charged, or otherwise out of proportion. Whenever someone freaks out suddenly or reacts to a small problem as if it were a catastrophe, it's often a trauma response. Something in the here and now is rekindling old pain and discomfort. This is what can lead us to over-the-top reactions. However," he continues, "the attempt to reenact the event often simply repeats, reinflicts, and deepens the trauma." And we see this so much in Israel and Palestine. We see this so much in so many contexts in our lives. And if we are going to heal ourselves and this world and stop this cycle of inflicting pain when we try to avoid pain, we're going to need to learn to own our pain, to hold it in a different way, not to bury it, not to pretend it's not there, but to hold it in a way that we can own it, we can clean up our pain, we can make it part of our story, part of who we are, but not the kind of pain that keeps on wounding ourselves and other people. Resmaa Menakem talks about this. He calls it clean pain. Clean pain is pain that mends and can build your capacity for growth. It's the pain you feel when you know what to say or do, when you really, really, really don't want to do it, like having a direct conversation with someone you're really angry at, or things like that. But you know what you need to do, you really, really don't want to do it, and when you do it anyway, responding from the best parts of yourself. In order to disrupt the cycle of pain, we need to take some deep breaths to calm ourselves, or to calm our nervous systems enough to recognize what we are doing and to have some courage. If we stop then to catch a breath, to notice, to tend, to treat, to care for each other, then we're less likely to keep injuring ourselves and one another. When we can feel the pain, the disappointment, the hurt, and hold the pain, but not increase it through our responses, that is clean pain. First Unitarian will be embarking in the coming months on a journey of conflict transformation. This is not just, resolving a conflict and moving back to our old ways of doing things. This is creating new patterns of how we work out our differences, how we enter into more faithful, creative, just, and loving ways of being together and doing church. We'll talk more about this at this afternoon's workshop. We hope you'll join us. But goodness, the universe, our blessed universe, gave me another chance to hold my pain in a different way. This time I was walking on a different beach, 50 miles north of the old one, and the water felt cool against my feet, and ouch! I was stung by another bee. It really, really, really hurt. But this time I didn't jump to the other side of my foot. I just said, I'm not going to injure myself more. I'm just going to feel this pain. And it really hurt. But I kept walking normally. And then within an hour, the pain subsided and the rest of me felt fine. I let myself be present to the pain. I processed it without defending against it. It was clean pain, felt, acknowledged, held, but not increased. My body was able to use all of its healing powers just for that little wound on my toe. May it be so for you as you discover and invoke your own healing powers to address your own pain as persons, as a congregation. May it be so for you and your collective lives at First Unitarian.
Shall we join together in singing our doxology?
Our responsive reading today is called We Speak the Language of Love by Reverend Erica Hewitt. I invite you to join in responding, We speak the language of love. We arrive from many different experiences and backgrounds. Some of us have trouble speaking. Others are so young that they are still learning to talk. Some of us speak English as a second language, and others of us can speak several foreign languages. All of us share this in common. We speak the language of love. In the moments before worship begins, and again when we return to the service of life, we greet one another with kind words. We chat about the days behind us and the days to come, and we speak the language of love. We lift our voices in song, not to sing perfectly or in tune, but to hear and feel from our voices form a life-giving sound, and we speak the language of love. We form a web of compassionate listening, when individuals among us, embodying vulnerability, name the fears that gripped their hearts, the joys that buoy their spirits. We speak the language of love. At times, our voices clash. We disagree. Tension enters our voices as we make room for different beliefs, different opinions, different perspectives. Through it all, it's our intention that we speak the language of love. In this congregation, we welcome a multiplicity of truths and invite them to be named out loud. We prophesy, summoning the age when justice and peace will be evident all around us, and we speak the language of love. Let us worship together, making room for one another as whole beings, tender hearts, hungry spirits, and curious minds. With our actions and with our words, let us speak the language of love.
As we focus our summer offerings on organizations within and in support of Unitarian Universalism, this week we share our plate with Black Lives of Unitarian Universalism. Blue is committed to expanding the power and capacity of Black UUs within Unitarian Universalism, providing support, information, and resources for Black Unitarian Universalists, and justice-making and liberation for Black people through our faith. If you'd like to donate via check or cash, our ushers will be coming around in just a moment. If you'd like to give electronically, you can find the QR code on the screen and also on the yellow strips in one of the racks here in the sanctuary. If you're on Boxcast, you can also use the Donate Now button. Thank you for your generosity. Together, we make a difference. And a quick note about this morning's offertory. It is the 1-year anniversary of Garrett's first Sunday, and we're about to, yes. And this is a delightful repeat of the first offering he shared with us. We make space each week in our service to name the concerns of our community life. We are a caring community, and pastoral support happens through our ministers and through our lay ministers. That care includes holding the prayers of the congregation throughout the week. If you're here in person, you can light a candle of intention in one of our galleries and write down your prayer intention. And online, you can send that prayerful intention to prayer@FirstUnitarianPortland.org. Let us hold Chris Gates, who is in the hospital recovering from surgery this week. He has a long rehab ahead of him and would appreciate us holding him in our healing thoughts and prayers. May Chris be strengthened by our love and presence and companionship on his healing journey. Member Bill Cunningham asks for prayers for his brother Brian, who has entered hospice care for his advanced cancer. Bill asks for prayers for his brother, that he's comfortable and peaceful as he transitions to the next realm, and particularly that he opens his heart to heal a deep family rift before he makes that transition. We hold Bill and the whole family in our hearts at this time. Sunrisa Celeste Cooper, who grew up in our church, married Tsuyoshi Onda on Saturday, July 20th at the Laurelhurst Club. Sunrisa is the daughter of the now retired staffer Zaida Cooper and her husband, John. We wish the couple happiness, well-being, and enduring love. Will you join with me in a spirit of reflective prayer and meditation? Spirit of life, we are held by a love that will not let us go. May we be able to feel its presence and be a witness to it in our lives and for it in the lives of others. We are held by a love that calls us to restore. May we, through courage, name what is broken. Through compassion, remember we are all human, gifted and flawed. And through the creativity present when we open to possibilities, may a new way be found. We are held by a love that calls us to nourishment and to rest, to honor the needs of our spirits, minds, and bodies. As we make space to rise to the challenges with energy and the best we have, may we also remember this is only possible when we make space for moments of ease and pause, of laughter and play. We are held by a love that calls us forth towards a community of liberation and hope that invites and inspires and enlivens the beloved that resides in each and surrounds us all. We are held by a love that will not let us go and will not let us off of what love requires. May it be so, and amen. And I invite you into a time of silent reflection together. Let us fill up the sanctuary with our prayers. Let us sing together, There is a Love.
Into that love that is holding us, I raise a spell of radical gratitude from Adrienne Marie Brown. And as I read these words, I invite you to imagine who needs radical gratitude. Do you need to hear it for yourself? Then listen for yourself. Do you need to spread that radical gratitude to someone else who needs to feel it? Think of them when you hear it. If you need to spread that radical gratitude, you should challenge yourself to send it to someone you disagree with or you're in conflict with. Send this to them. Bring that radical gratitude where it needs to go in this love. You are a miracle in motion. I greet you with wonder. In a world which seeks to own your joy and imagination, you have chosen to be free every day as a practice. I can never know your struggles you went through to get here, but I know you have swum upstream and at times it has been lonely. I want you to know I honor the choices you made in solitude, and I honor the work you have done to belong. I honor your commitment to that which is larger than itself. And your journey to love the particular vessel of life that is you. You are enough. Your work is enough. You are needed. Your work is sacred. You are here, and I am grateful.
I was serving May Memorial Unitarian Universalist Society in Syracuse in New York in 2016 during the election that seemed to go astray. And a lot of my congregants were experiencing harm and threat because Syracuse is a liberal sea in a red, red ocean. And folks were asking, how do we respond to people who are threatening us, taking away our signs, doing this thing called rolling coal, which I don't know if you've experienced this, where somebody intentionally covers your car in the carbon exhaust from your truck. It was a difficult time. And they were in transition because professionally I've been an interim minister, and interim times naturally have conflict because human beings in times of challenge and transition, we don't like it. So we tend to get a little, Anybody know what I'm talking about? You have that change that you didn't want and you're like, that. And so we've been doing a lot of good work and talking, and of course practicing what you preach is quite literally really hard. I think of the quote from Richard Bach, "We teach best what we most need to learn." And certainly, I needed to learn to de-escalate within myself, with my family, with my congregation, with a world that just seemed to be unimaginable to me. And so, as the procrastinator that I am, it was Sunday morning, and I was doing laundry before worship. And I'm at the laundromat, and when I came in and put my stuff in the laundry in the wash, there were a few people. There was a young college student on one side, and in the corner in another side was a Spanish-speaking couple. The husband clearly seemed agitated, but was just sitting there, and his wife was on the phone speaking in very rapid Spanish. I don't speak Spanish as well as I understand it, so I could figure out that there was an emergency, and they were trying to get their laundry done to get out of there. And she would go through times of calmness, and then she'd get really loud and then go back, but all of this was in Spanish. And then there was a gentleman about my age in a wheelchair who was working on his laundry. And we were all kind of going along, and I was paying attention to the woman because I could tell she was a little upset. And then a gentleman walks in who is in his 60s or 70s, I'm going to guess, wearing full camo gear. And of course, my head started spinning. What is about to happen right now? And I was like, okay, don't become reactive to something that isn't real yet, right? Like, don't make, as one of my congregants in Montgomery, Alabama said, don't turn a mistake into a scene. Don't turn a camo outfit into a problem, right? Unfortunately, my hopes were not realized. And the gentleman started talking to the person in the wheelchair. And you could tell the person in the wheelchair didn't really want to chat with anybody. He just wanted to kind of do his thing and get about his day. I'm guessing an introvert, I feel. And everything was fine until the gentleman in the camo came up on the guy in the wheelchair and kind of cornered him in between the laundry machine and the laundry machine door. So the guy couldn't get out and started saying, you know, I don't know about other people, but I think in this country we should speak English. And I'm thinking, oh boy, here we go, right? Now, the couple in the corner hadn't noticed. The guy was closer to us. And you could tell the person in the wheelchair did not have a sense of, like, how do I get out of this situation? I do not want to be here right now. I just want to get out of the thing. And it's just doing the sure, kind of short sentence comments. And the guy in camo is now starting to get louder and louder. You know, in this country, we all had to learn new languages, and everybody should speak Spanish or speak English, and it's getting louder to the point where now the woman on the phone is noticing. Now, I've been preaching and teaching about de-escalation for a few months by this point, and I'm thinking, what do I do? What do I do? I could try and approach this guy, but that actually would probably make it worse. He's not going to be able to hear me. And I'll tell you, as a trans human, I don't want to pick that kind of fight. I don't know what's going to happen, and I can't trust the police to not arrest me because they don't trust people like me. So what do I do? I could start talking to the gentleman in the wheelchair. That's a possibility, but that may still escalate the guy. And so I just stood there, and I'm like, I need inspiration to come to me. It took a little while. And then I finally did what I know I'm good at. I sang. There is a love holding me. And I just started singing. And I sang through the first verse, and the gentleman, you could tell he got quieter. I didn't look at him, but I could hear by how he was talking, he had turned towards me. There is a love holding all that I love. He keeps going, but you can tell his steam is coming out of it. First off, there's this stranger singing about love in the middle of a laundromat. So fair. There is a love holding all. I rest in this love. And then I stopped. And I think he thought, oh, good, they stopped. I can keep going. So he kept trying to talk to the guy. There is a love holding holding you. About halfway through the second verse, he said, I can't stand this, and stormed out. And when he came back, he didn't say a word to God nor anybody. Was that the right thing to do? I really don't know. But here's what I do know about that situation. There was nothing he could hear that I could say. There wasn't anything, I couldn't intervene on behalf of the folks who had less power in that room. And let's be fair, everybody, including me, had less power in that room. In that room, I do not have the authority of the minister. They don't know who the heck I am. I'm just some trans weirdo singing a song in a laundromat. The Spanish-speaking couple, having known that something had gone on, their stuff finally dried, they got things, and they headed off to the hospital where I'm sure they were headed. The guy in the wheelchair just kind of nodded at me as he went by. We didn't need to say anything, and we went about our lives. And this is what I want to say, is that part of conflict transformation work is not to fix it all in the moment. There was tons of oppression, there was tons of white supremacy culture going on in that entire situation. There was ableism, there was transphobia, there was misogyny, there was just everything, racism, and all of it at play. Xenophobia. I can't fix those. Neither can you. No one person can. What I could do in the moment is turn the volume down, reduce the harm, change the conversation with music. And it worked. Who knows? And another time he might have decided he wanted to yell at me, though I do contend it is really hard to yell at somebody who's singing about love. I just throw that out there. I learned that hymn from Reverend Dr. Rebecca Ann Parker. Because that poem, There Is a Love, she would ask students entering the school to offer that prayer for every single person in the entering class. So it'd be like, there is a love holding Sarah. There is a love holding all that Sarah loves. And I would do that for her, and then I would do that for Allison, and then I would do that for Garrett, and I would do that for everybody in my class. I gotta tell you, it's a hell of a spiritual practice. But what it taught me was, even with the people in my class who I didn't like, and there were definitely some, I'm assuming you don't like everybody at church. I've never been to a church where everybody likes everybody at church, because we don't come here to like each other. You don't have to like someone to hold them in love. You don't even have to love them to hold them in love. We don't have to support behaviors and things, but what we do have to do is recognize, when can people hear us, and how can we bring the energy to a level where we can be present to each other? Where is the space to hold each other? The final story I'll share is I somehow have managed to, and I think it's just the reality of churches. Montgomery, Alabama, when I was serving there, it was all about, what if we get bombed? They were so afraid of that. And when I moved to St. Louis to serve the congregation there, 9 days after I arrived, Michael Brown was murdered. And then I moved to Syracuse, and Trump was elected. And it's just like there's just been one thing after another, because that's how the world is, right? There's always something. I grew up in a family where my father was a Vietnam veteran and my mother was an indigenous human active with the American Indian movement. And, right? There's always been stuff. But what I've learned over the years, particularly taken home from the work in Ferguson, is we're not here to do it all at once. Liberation does not mean right this second. What I learned from the black activists in Ferguson was, they knew if we put all of our energy into this and burn ourselves out, we are not here for the length of the struggle. And they had learned that. Just like Adrienne Maree Brown and so many other wise people from communities of oppression that say, we're in this not for our generation alone, but for every generation that was and everyone to come. So your job is not to fix it all. It's to say, what's that little bit we can do in this moment so that we don't kill ourselves, but we do help create a world where all of us can be a little more human, a little more whole, and a whole lot more liberated. So as you go forward in this work together, as a congregation, as a place in Portland, as a place in the world, hold on to the love and to that, as Adrienne Marie Brown puts it, that next elegant action that moves things just a little bit, knowing you're not going to fix it all today or this year or maybe even in your lifetime, but that you will have definitely given something to the people who come that is just a little bit better than how you received it. Yeah? And in the meantime, have some frickin' fun and sing and dance and do all the good stuff, because that's what makes it all worth it. Yeah? Can you do that? All right. So my last story is this. I was working in a hospital in Riley Hospital for Children in Indianapolis. And I had a bunch of nurses who were dead tired because the doctors were not listening to the children. This was a cancer unit. And I finally started saying to them, cause trouble and comfort in equal measure. Now, a lot of these folks were very conservative, Christian, evangelical nurses, and they're like, you can't tell us to cause trouble, you're a minister. I'm like, thinking in my head, like, hell, I'm a Unitarian. But what I said to them is, no, cause sacred trouble, but also give comfort. If you can't do both of them, then what are we here for? So cause trouble, cause comfort, may it be.
Please be seated. Holding yourselves and your conflicting feelings and helping them move into a space where we can work and heal together. That is the challenge of First Unitarian right now. As you move from this space, may you remember that you are a blessing. That each person here is a blessing. That this congregation is a blessing. And that there is a love, such great love, infinite love, holding us. This is the day you and I are given. Let us rejoice in it and be glad here. Go in peace, practice love. Amen and blessed be.